Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Buddyfight deck profile video. So today I'm going to be covering the Star Dragon World deck of Drametals. I kind of covered some of the basics on a budget Drametal deck, but this is going to be a more fully built version of the deck using the cards from the Glory Valiant side of Buddy Ragnarok. But as far as the big updates to the deck go, they got some pretty good cards from Glory Valiant. On Tens of Thousands' boards is a really solid set spell, where basically all your Drametals can't be rested and their abilities can't be nullified, so some further protection is always a good thing. On top of which, it has a counteract ability that basically lets you move the opponent's monster, if it's not in the center, to the center, so that way you could oppress the left and right with. So it's just a very, very solid card. Because before it was really hard to oppress the opponent's board, because if you go second, then they would obviously have monsters, and if you can't oppress the areas, then it makes your deck very hard to function. So this card is just absolutely fantastic and makes it very easy to oppress even going second. And then one of the other big cards that they got is Promotion Point. So you get to use one of two abilities. You could either search for 2 Drametal monsters with different names, add them to your hand, and if you do, drop a hand card. So being able to search out basically whatever Drametals you want given the current situation is very, very strong. On top of which, it has a counter ability. You could countercall a Drametal monster from your drop zone by paying its call cost. So it's just a very solid card to help with the overall consistency of the deck, and the fact that it only costs a life instead of a gauge makes it very, very easy on the gauge because the deck does have a little bit of gauge issues. And then the last big card that they got from Glory Valiant is Archbishop Giallo Mace. So he is basically going to be the new size 0 of the deck because he reduces his size by 1 if you control an oppressed area. So obviously the whole point is to play him after you oppress, but now that oppressing is easier to do, that shouldn't be that big of a problem. On top of which, he has a counteract ability to oppress. You're probably not going to want to oppress with him, but the fact that he can oppress just in case you need it is definitely a very, very good effect to have. And then he has another static ability where all monsters in your oppressed area get plus 3,000 power, plus 3,000 defense, plus 1 crit, and penetrate. So he's just overall helping buff your board, so that way it makes it hard for the opponent to try to get rid of the cards in their oppressed areas. And then as far as the rest of the deck, it's pretty much standard. You're going to be running Lostknight Nero Lancer because he's just one of the best cards to oppress with. You're going to be running Argento Lance because he's also just one of the best cards to oppress with. You're also going to be running Lostknight because he is also another solid oppress option. Metal Droid Pawn X Rook because he's another solid oppress option. And then the last monster you're probably going to be running in the main deck is going to be Emperor Rosso Scepter, because he basically is a size 1 when he's originally a size 3, on top of which he gives some basic protection to all of your Drametals in your oppressed area to where they can't be destroyed or returned to hand. On top of all of that, he also gives all Drametals on the field plus 3,000 power and plus 3,000 defense for each card you are oppressing with. Him combined with the new Archbishop means that they are going to be getting at least 9,000 power and defense buff, at best 12,000 power and defense buff. So it makes them really big really quickly. And then as far as the spell package, Knowledge Wave is just a really good resource engine card. Cho-Tokyo Gambit is another solid resource engine card. We don't necessarily need the other ability where we could return each monster on the opponent's field to the hand, because most of the time they're probably going to have protection from bounce, but the option is still there. Most of the time you're just going to be using it to draw cards and gain gauge. Zug Zwang is a pretty solid card in which it has a little bit of utility, where you could either stand a Drametal on your field, and if the card that you're standing is oppressing in opponent's area, you also deal 1 damage to them. Just a spell restander is pretty good. And then the other effect is also really good, where it locks the opponent out from countercalling monsters by card effects. Because if you destroy their center monster and they try to call another monster to the center to protect them, this makes it so that they can't do that. And then you're going to be running for the future, mostly just to gain some gauge and do a little bit of hand fixing. You're never going to be using the Jackknife or Abigail part, so that part doesn't matter, but the fact that it helps us gain some gauge is the really important thing. You're going to be running Shining Rain because it's the spell null of the deck, and it's a pretty important card to run. And then you're going to also be running Suppression Advantage because it's also another way of gaining some gauge, because the deck does use up a lot of gauge. And then if you just so happen to be oppressing an opponent's area, you also get to destroy a spell or item on your opponent's field. Declaration Check is just a basic defense spell. And then we're going to be running Eternal Rivals because it combos really well with Promotion Point by setting up cards in our drop zone, on top of which it draws us a card. And because we also run an original size 3 monster, it'll give that monster a 10,000 power boost and a +1 crit boost. Then Grace of the Sun Deity because it's just needed in basically every deck at this point. Endgame Study is our other restander in impact form, and we get an additional attack phase so we can continue with the aggression. And then lastly, we're going to be running Lost World because there's some new stuff going on with Lost World, and we are drawing and gauging a lot, so Lost World definitely isn't out of the question. And then in Lost World, there is a new Drametal card that can oppress, so that is also going to be a really, really good. And because a lot of our cards can help fish for him, he's definitely an easy card to access and get to in the deck. And then as far as some of the other cards that you could run, it's just really whatever you feel like that best fits in with the deck. So you'd have some alternative draw options. If you want, you could run the item. Chess Magic is definitely an interesting card in case you can't find the new set spell, and so on and so forth. So there's just a lot of different options that you could run, and the deck is definitely looking to be a lot better than it has in the past. With all that being said, as always, I'll have the deck list in the description below. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions about the deck or just want to leave a comment in general. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next video.